Hello, everyone listening to this broadcast. And this is a project that we wanted to do that we talked about doing. So, to talk about contributing to NgRx and RxJS through the docs. I'm Brandon Roberts. I work on the Angular team doing documentation and guides and tutorials, and also a member of the NgRx core team, member on the NgRx project. And if you want to go ahead and introduce yourself.
Yeah, sure. So my name is Jan Niklas Wortmann. I'm from Germany and part of the RxJS core team. I'm mainly working on the docs and trying to improve them as much as possible for sure. And I'm very happy to be here and talk about the docs right now.
Yeah, I'm glad you. I'll just say this publicly. I'm glad you reached out to me to see about doing this because we've been, I guess, both of us been kind of on Twitter on separate paths trying to get
Yeah,
people to contribute more. So we figured we could try to do something together to, put some action behind that. So yeah, I'm glad you
yeah,
glad we could put it together.
yeah, definitely. I'm glad you joined.
um,
Okay, so should we directly start or
yeah, if you want to go ahead and
yeah,
walk through kind of the process of RX, and then I'll follow
yeah,
you after that. So.
cool. Okay, so let's start doing this by sharing my screen somehow, maybe here. Yeah, should work, hopefully. You can see my screen, right? So
Yep.
you see yourself right now.
Yeah, I see myself.
Okay, so here we are on the RxJS repository on GitHub right now. And, oh, sorry. So normally when you start with contributing to an existing project, you would take a look at the issues. And RxJS has a lot of issues right now, pretty much, because there is lots of improvements needed in the docs. Um, we created a label for that. So if you would like to have out with the docs, you can search for those with type docs. I try to be as accurate as possible with those and keep them up to date. And there you see all those which are related to docs. I additionally try to label those with help wanted to those issues which are very easy, which are low-hanging fruits, especially for first-timers to get into that. Um, and today I would like to pick one of those issues to demonstrate how to get used to software development and contributing. Um, so usually you would click through those and search for one, and one which is you would like to do, right? Because that's what it's mainly is about. You want to feel good about what you're doing and those kind of stuff. So you should pick something you would really like to contribute at this point. And there's really lots of improvements here and there. There are huge topics. There are minor ones. So I would suggest to pick a minor one for now. For example, this year. So in one of the last releases, we added StackBlitz integration to the docs. So if you now go to rxjs.dev, for example, in the API docs or the getting started guide, maybe it's better. So all the code examples are directly generating a StackBlitz example if you click here on this button. We added this to enable all the people to play around with the examples we have in our docs and make them more explorable, right? And here you see the problem because we have different versions of RxJS with different ways of handling observables, different imports, and not all of the examples are completely working. So what I would like to do and what this issue is about now is broken code in the overview page. There's already a lot of information going on, um, and it already might be solved, and it is solved. So there are usually some kind of references to um, open issues from a pull request, but not all the time people are aware of referencing the needed issue. So if you tend to start with an issue and would like to contribute to it, you should definitely first check if there's an open pull request, because it's really horrible if you start working on that and in the meantime somebody already fixed it. You invested time and at the end you didn't feel very comfortable. So this is just about checking if there's already a pull request for that. So there is one I did a while ago and need to merge that at some point. And it for now it looks like there isn't one. Problem is that the docs website, like we saw it a minute ago, is not released with every change or something like that. It's just released when we deploy or release a new version of RxJS and an npm registry. So just to be sure, we should check the code. I already prepared a bit to have the latest code version here. So I already checked out the repository and all the stuff, installed it, and hopefully it will run. So maybe I will shortly talk about the repository structure for everyone to know about that. So because what's really confusing right now is that we have a doc folder and right below that a docs app folder. So the docs app folder is the current one. And if you want to contribute, fix something in the docs, please stick to that one. The point about the doc folder is that this is the old doc. So for till RxJS 5, I think we had another way of generating the docs, and there's all the content from this site. You may know it from reactivex.com, something like that. And we started a new way of generating the docs in collaboration with the Angular team. Thanks for that.
That was a nice plug there. I'm glad you put that in there.
Yeah, it should add some labels somewhere. Thanks to the Angular team. Um, so that's also the reason why you might see a lot of references to Angular IO or something like that. Just if you stumble across those, don't get confused by it. We're just kind of lazy to fix all the issues.
So
Uh,
is the old docs is the like part of this effort that you're doing, is that migrating the docs from the old that old app you just talked about to the new one, or is it just
yeah.
mainly new stuff?
So there's already a lot of content transferred. So we are only talking about some static content which is left about. And we try to migrate them to the guides section. And I think there are already a lot of those. So I just need to check if there are some missing and probably create some issues for that. So if you would like to start with those, they're quite easy because it's mainly about copying that file. It's both MD files, so we generate the docs from those MD files and maybe update some of the content because it was used for RxJS 5. Now we are with RxJS 6, have some minor changes here and there. But those are also very good and for first timers, right?
Hmm.
Um, but I'm not completely sure about the progress. I need to double check that. And if there are some missing parts, I will create issues for those so you can check them within the next days if you like to. Otherwise, we hopefully going to delete that folder. I need to discuss that with the team if there are some reasons against that. But I would like to delete that because it just creates confusion about the what's the latest version and all that stuff.
Hmm.
Um, so back to the issue about the broken parts in the overview. Right, there it is. Um, so in this particular issue, one of the community members already mentioned that it should already all be fixed. So let's shortly double check that. Otherwise, it would be a very good one to start with. So I now opened this MD page of the overview, and I also shortly start a development server so that we can directly see it in the website. And just to be clear on that, we have two separate projects, to put it like this. So the root folder is for all the RxJS code, and all the node npm scripts are particular for RxJS. in the Docs app, we have a normal, a usual Angular application with a different package JSON and also different node scripts. So if you want to start the server for that project, go to the Docs app folder and you can use the serve and sync command, or the other way around.
Yeah, serve and sync. I get those mixed up too, but yeah, serve npm serve dash serve dash and dash sync.
It's horrible, right? So all the time I'm there like, is it now serve and sync or sync and serve? And I think like at least 80% of the time I'm wrong.
Hmm.
Um,
You're not the only one. It's okay.
so now the docs are generated on in a minute. We can go to localhost 4200, just like we would do it with a normal Angular CLI app, because it's nothing different. It's really just an Angular CLI app with a little bit of magic here and there, but nothing to be worried about. So it takes some time, but in the meantime, I can try to get a proper preview of this empty file. Markdown open preview, not like this.
Yeah, I was going to say that is one good thing about using the Angular Docs infrastructure is that, of course, you can do this in general, but just being able to edit Markdown files and uh, being able to edit Markdown files and then use an actual app.
Yeah.
So that good combination of the two.
Yeah, it's
Seems
very
to work.
powerful way. So you have on the one hand those easy way to get into it, but you can add a lot of new features and really complex stuff. Okay, so here we are in the docs right now, and this is really the latest and greatest master version, so we can check if the code is working correctly and all the imports are right and everything's good. And so here's already a minor issue if you check that, because if I can, there are two issues. Is it really the latest master?
So these examples, that the one that you're going through right now, those are generated. You said those are generated on the fly, right?
Yeah. So I
Each one of
can
the code
go.
snippets.
I think the Angular team has separate projects for those code examples in their docs, if I remember correctly.
Mm-hmm.
Because our example are really most like 5 lines of code. We said, okay, just use the code tag of MD files
Mm-hmm.
and use those for that. The problem is that we can't unit test them, can't compile them separately, and that's where those errors come from.
I see.
But the code examples are the same, so there's nothing changed in the meantime, which is good for us right now because we can dig into that. And so here we already have a small issue. So I personally, no, like we in the RxJS team would like to stack to TS examples. So instead of saying, okay, it's a JS example, we say, okay, it's a TS example. And therefore we should change the import right here to the TypeScript way of doing that. It's from event operator from RxJS/operators. And here we shouldn't use the document query selector for button. The problem with that is that we don't have a separate HTML file, so there isn't any button. And the example isn't very explorable. So instead of using a button, we should prefer just using document for that. Okay. We say, okay, every time someone is clicking on somewhere in the web page, it prints that out. So hopefully, okay, there's a minor issue with the build itself, so I have to recompile all the stuff again. Sorry for that. But as soon as my terminal is back to life, maybe, maybe not.
Live demos for the win.
Sure. So just hope that the node process is already killed and we can just start a new one. Surf and sync, right?
Yep.
I knew that. I just wanted to test you.
I got it right. Yes, I win.
Unfortunately, I don't have any prize for you, but I
Okay.
promise you next time we met, I prepare something for that.
Hey, it's a deal.
Fix, definitely. So, also a very low hanging fruit is if you see any of those JS examples, we would really like to stick
Mhm.
to TypeScript to make it more easier and more consistent for everyone. And I think the API docs is already everything in TypeScript. It seems like the guides itself aren't. So if you stumble across them, feel free to change it. Um, like you saw, it's really just changing some minor bits here and there.
So just to kind of circle back,
Mhm.
you've already cloned the repo, but uh, you would fork your repo, right? And then you clone it to your local machine, and then
Absolutely.
you would run yarn in the
Um,
docs app folder.
Very good point. So everything about the Git stuff is totally right. The only thing is that we aren't using yarn. We are
Okay.
using npm. So at the very beginning, as we just copied all the things over from Angular.io, we had
Hmm.
those double dependencies, right? So in the root repository in RxJS itself, we sometimes agreed on just using npm for some reason, and
Hmm.
then we introduced yarn for the docs app, which isn't consistent and not a good developer experience there. So I did some minor changes to make it runnable with npm. The main issue was to find a script which says, "Hey, you should use John instead of npm." There
Yeah.
was like a script just saying that and blocking me from doing anything else. But luckily, I found it at some point. Okay. Um, so just like you said, fork the repository, do your changes, create a branch for that, and if you push that branch, GitHub already propose you. Do you want to create a merge request for that? But we will come to that point.
Okay.
Unfortunately, I can't demonstrate the forking and all the stuff because
Yeah.
I'm somehow prepared, not that much, but somehow, and that's the thing I prepared.
Yeah, I was just wondering, just so we can kind of lay out the steps of how you get the docs app up and
Yeah,
running once you get to that point.
yeah. So in the Docs app, we can already now see our changes here. So and now if we go to the edit stackblitz link, it hopefully compiles. And no, because from event is not a function. Oh, I'm super bad. For sure it's a creation operator, so it's from RxJS. You have to import it from RxJS, not from RxJS operators because it's creation operator. Yeah, my bad. But now if I save and rerun it, it should work, right?
Yeah, there
Amazing.
you go.
Okay, so what we can do now, because I mightly do typos again, just copy that over from left to right. And here we go. So first example is fixed. I now see that there's above another example, which we might should make similar. So we should change it to TS also. And instead of say button event listener, make it document event listener. I hope document should have a function event listener. Just to make them as similar as possible. Examples here. Okay, let's go to the next one. So again, we have some JS language instead of TypeScript. Here there's
Mhm.
some var, which should be probably a let, and this is a const, which is like not needed because we need to change it to document again. Okay. Okay, so you just disturb me when I'm too fast or something like that, right?
Do what?
Like just blocking me from going on when I'm too fast for something. I don't know.
Okay. No,
Oh,
I think you're good.
great. Okay. In the next example, again, TypeScript instead of JS, and now the TypeScript way of importing something. And now everyone knows that from event is imported from RxJS and not from RxJS operators, which is super obvious.
I'm glad you had to go through that because that was a good catch.
Import from would be helpful to make it valid. Import scan from RxJS operators. And we again should use document instead of button. From event document click, pipe scan looks very, very good. Okay, the content itself should be fine. Ben approved it a while ago, so we just say it should be good. And I'm feeling quite comfortable with that, honestly. So, okay, what is this example about? We have a count, a rate, a last click, and we measure the distance of the clicks. Okay, so again, we use document instead of button. Document, no typo here. We change all those bars to LEDs. And I think this should already be it, right? Looks kind of good. We will double check them afterwards. I will now just go through all of those and afterwards compile because it takes a while and hopefully
Yeah.
everything works the first try. I highly doubt that, but we will see. Live coding is amazing, right?
Yep. I think I think they'll give you a pass on since you're doing it live. You know, you're under the gun.
We will see.
You're doing the best you can. So
Yeah, it's already also quite kind of late here in Germany, and I need to go to bed. Okay, so still there's no button here. We say document, throttle time and scan are correctly imported. It's all good. Here are just some references. Put over there. They're already led and const, which is good. Still don't have a button. Just use a document. Somehow open source software development is kind of repetitive.
don't you talk bad about open source. No.
No, 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 no. It's recommendation, right? And I'm jumping like crazy around. I completely lost track where I was. There I was. No, no, open source is super. No, it's no shit. It's really, really very exciting, but kind of repetitive sometimes. Okay, so let's check the code. Again, it's document. So the very main reason why I started helping out with the RxJS docs is to get more used to it. I learned so
Mhm.
much about all the operators, all the nitty-gritty details, feeling comfortable with checking the source code instead of checking the documentation. Not that
Yeah,
the documentation is bad, but would be better. Um,
yeah.
and
Same here. That's kind of how I got involved in Angular. Also, was I started with the docs and then tried to see where I could fit in and help out. Just make it better. Well, I wanted to make it better, so I wanted it to be better. So,
yeah, that's the point.
um,
So as I started with RxJS, I was super bad with it, really, like super super bad. And now
mhm.
I'm just bad.
So how much longer is there a point where you get good with it, or
That's a
are
good
you just
question.
trying to slowly creep up from the from bad?
That's a very good question. I don't know.
Well, I'm glad you're being honest about it.
in all honesty, RxJS is super difficult, and you just have to force yourself to get more used to it because it's
Right.
mainly the most difficult part is the different way of thinking about how you structure your source code.
Hmm.
Um, and
But that's what the docs are for. That's what we're trying to make the docs easier so that you can so that you don't uh bang your head up against the wall too long when you're getting started, right?
exactly, exactly. Okay, so back to the website, which is super beautiful, copy pasted from Angular.io. So let's shortly check all the Stackblitz examples now if they compile. Looks like it compiles, and there are some click console logs.
Cool.
So we've started with that one, so I just expect now this to work. No, no, I will double check it just to be sure. I know myself.
The first one worked. Now you're gonna get greedy.
I know myself. I'm also making typos by copy pasting stuff. So
Hey, that one worked. Two for
okay,
two.
so the second one worked too, which is good. Like first one, amazing. Just 2 lines of code. Okay. Oh, sorry, it's still compiling. Now it's there, and this is also working. Amazing. So I think we have now a quota from 404, right? First
Yep.
time. I'm more than surprised.
Hey, look, another one. You're batting 1,000. Gonna use American baseball terms.
I'm super used to American baseball terms, so I just love to feel more comfortable with it. And
Hmm.
you know, no, and all, I have no clue about baseball. It's super uncommon in Germany.
Hey, well, you made it. You made it seem didn't. You made it didn't seem that way. So I was almost gonna believe you, but then you didn't sound too sure at the end. So
Yeah, I'm quite good at those things, right? Okay, so in the meantime, all those things up to flow works. So we are now coming to the last points. So there are just two left, which needs to work, and then we have no, not hundred of hundred, but 100% success rate. I don't know what it's logging. Ah, it's logging the time difference from one click to the different.
mhm.
Seem to work. The last one. Fingers
Last
crossed.
one.
I can feel it. And here we go.
Hey, success.
Amazing. Okay, so we have made some valid changes, very valuable for the community.
That's
So now
great.
we
Ship it. No, it's getting
tip it.
great.
So I'm using the CLI with Git. I hope that's fine for everyone. So let's firstly check the changes I made. And for some reason, I have untracked marble diagrams. I should upload those, but that's not the purpose of this PR. So we just add the overview page we changed now because it makes it very helpful if the one PR is just for one task, right? For just for one issue, so then you
Yep.
don't have to switch context and all this stuff. And if I remember correctly, we have in our package JSON minor script to help with the commit message. Let me double check. We have. So instead of now, usually you would now say git commit with some fancy commit message, but
Hmm.
instead we now use npm run commit, and then for sure first lint will run above across all the files, and because we aren't linting MD files, there shouldn't be something surprising. But now we come to the interesting point. We have like a small
Okay.
wizard to help um, with the proper format. And what we did, we made a fix for the documentation. So we'll select that. We say the scope, which was the overview, and the short description is like, okay, making all examples work, compile. The longer description is not needed for such a minor fix. Usually, if you would make a major change in this code base, it would be very helpful to provide a longer description, especially if it might be a breaking change or something like that. But changing the doc isn't definitely a breaking change. List any breaking. This was wrong. This was very wrong. My bad.
So
Um,
if you do it the if you do like the git commit way, will it yell at you or will it just tell you to do it the other way?
no, unfortunately not. It's not like unfortunately, but um, you can't just use git commit, but you
Mhm.
should stick to the proper git the commit message format. I will demonstrate it in a second as soon as my terminal is back to life. I have no clue what's going on with that this day. Not like there's a important hangout session with one of the Angular core team.
It's not
Um,
like we're not live.
so um, anyway, it made the commit, and here you see the format. Okay, so the very first is the scope, which was docs, which was the first thing we selected. Then the overview. The pity here is that I unfortunately typed in N for listing referred issues, and now I have to change this.
You
And
fixed 5 examples in a row and all of them worked, and then you messed up the commit message. I mean, come on.
now I have to put all my Git skills together, and hopefully I made it. Amazing. Um, Fortunately, I didn't push those changes, so now I can easily change the commit method to just delete that line which wasn't needed here. And if I didn't mess up again, it should work again. Amazing. And because now we are on master, I don't want to push on master, so I just create a short branch. Check out minus b, and I like it's just my repository, so I like to use some kind of conventions for my branches, which is mostly like feature, or if it's really a horrible fix, I label it with bug fix. But that's not really important at that moment. You can also name your branch whatever, I don't know, you name it.
Mhm.
Um, GitHub will carry it.
So there aren't
Overview.
there so there aren't any like strict conventions as far as commit messages since it guides you. Is one part it guides you a lot. It guides you through the part about formatting your commit message, which I like. Which it seems
Yeah,
like some people get tripped up on that commit message as far as just writing what kind of fitting the structure of what the repo needs, right?
yeah, yeah. So even though you may mess up the commit message just like I did, um, first there is a minor check in the Travis CI to
Hmm.
verify that, and also we are as soon as we merge your PR into the repository, we are also able to change it. Just if it's like a major thing with some really messed up stuff, it might be valuable if you could take care of it. But instead, we will discuss here, and even if there's really like terrible thing, we also support you with that, and we got this working.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I created the branch. I have still those untracked file we ignore for now, and now I just push my feature branch to my origin is my fork repository.
Hmm.
So you should stick to some kind of conventions for those forked and the real repository, because you may need both as remotes in your Git configuration. And I think it's quite kind of common to use upstream instead of origin for the forked one.
Yeah, that's what I'd use. Origin is my fork, and upstream is
Yeah.
the or RxJS proper repo.
Yeah. So and now directly when we go to GitHub, GitHub proposes us, hey, you created a file feature branch to your repository. Do you want to make a merge request for that? And sure, I want to do that. And we have some kind of so what it does, it takes the commit message, at least if you have one commit, as title for the PR, which is totally fine. In most cases, if you are referring to a particular issue like I did, I just have to find it again. I will search for it later. Anyway, we have now this kind of introduction what this PR is about, and you could um, check stuff to make it easier for us. And now I have to see what we did, which matches the best. If your PR is addition of new operators, please make sure all the boxes are ticked. No, we didn't add a new operator, and there aren't coming that many new operators anymore. So what's very helpful is to create a minor or a very small description what this PR is about. So just let's do it. So there was an issue, the overview page of RxJS docs, code examples which were in JS and not working at all. And I will directly search for the issue because I can label it here. And if I do this, the issue itself is also closed as soon as this merge request is done, which is very helpful, especially for people like me who are very lazy in checking old issues. Um, so we also have this search here where we can check for overview. Stacklet examples, exactly. So we use this ID to refer to that issue. Yeah, that's one. And we say, okay, let me shortly change the description here. Related issue. This should work already. But that's it. Yeah, within half an hour, we created a merge request. Amazing, right?
Yeah, cool.
So what I would really like to emphasize at this point is that for sure open source is somehow related to
Mhm.
contributing with some kind of code, but it's not everything about code. So it's also very valuable to check issues, help with those, help people who are stuck at some way, check open PRs and comment on those. Those kind of stuff is also a way of contributing to open source. It's not
Mhm.
everything about code, right?
Yep. Yeah, I think it's an underrated, contribution actually, because even with code and docs, you're trying to help the person that comes after you so they don't trip on the same thing that you tripped on, right?
Exactly, exactly. Um, what about NgRx? Would you like to go on?
Sure, I can
Sure.
walk it through the process and be kind of similar, but yeah.
I'm really looking forward to it. I never checked even the NgRx repository, so I'm very curious
Okay.
now. So maybe I will contribute afterwards. We will see.
Hey, that sounds like a good idea. So I will
Are
share.
we fine then with the surf and sync deal we did?
Yeah, serve and sync. We need to take a look and see if we can get the refresh fixed on that too. So we'll talk about that offline though.
Yeah, sounds good.
Yeah, I'll share my screen. Okay. If you can see my screen good.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay, cool. So first, going through, we'll look at uh, just kind of an overview of the NGX repo, looking at the issues first, and we make it like you said. They have like you showed a label for docs, right?
yeah.
And we also have the label for comp docs, just to follow that same pattern. And if you look in this page, we also have one for good first issue, and those are like specifically for people who haven't contributed to the repository before, or maybe not haven't contributed to open source like at all before. So these are ones that we take more effort in as far as kind of writing out what the change is, because it seems like people are more comfortable with making a change if they know where to look, they know what to change, that kind of thing. So just to kind of get them comfortable with that first one. So we probably do a little more hand holding on these, but it's intentional so that the issue is approachable, and if it's something easy to fix, then people won't have a problem trying to go in and fix it. So I'll look at the ones that we have for good first issue, and just to filter it down just for a couple of pretty straightforward ones. So we have this one, which we also have this one, which I put in the first one about adding another repo to or page to the resources. And we usually put this community watch tag on them just to let someone know that someone else has already basically volunteered to take that one. That way we won't get we try not to get duplicate efforts, because we don't want people's work to get closed and things like that. So, and then this other one is one that somebody filed, and like I said, most of these are minor things that can be fixed. So this one, I'll show one that's really easy, because I think you walked through the process of how we can, or like showing the application and showing how you start up the Docs app. And so I won't go through that part again, because it's the same. I mean, I guess the one difference is we do use Yarn for running the actual app. But we do use Yarn serve and sync, just as you mentioned before. So I have the app running here, and then I have localhost 4200 that shows how we would go in and make a change. And I also bring up the main app itself, the one that's live on production right now, and show, because you can, if you're just interested in making like a quick change to a particular page, that maybe you see a typo or something like that you don't necessarily want to go through the whole GitHub process. Each one of the pages on the documentation site has this pencil up in the top right hand corner. And so if we go back and look at this issue, they tell you what the issue is. Open, go down to selectors, go down to the bottom, and it shows a particular snippet that is missing a comma. So if we go and we find that page and go to selectors, we see that pencil there, and I believe the issue is down here towards the bottom. It just gave me an idea for a feature, but I won't say it here. That could probably make that a little easier, but as you can see here, we're using scan, and we're missing a comma in between the curly bracket and the array there. So the easy way without going through GitHub would be to go to the pencil here on the page, click edit, and then it takes you directly to the actual markdown file that is serving that page, because we just take the markdown files and translate or display them that way. So I could go in and find that snippet of text or the change I want to make, and just add it. It says missing a comma, so we add the comma there. And I come down here and make a request, or make a pull request directly from that page. So you can say docs, and this, I know you mentioned on yours that it kind of walks you through that with the formatting of the message, and it helps you a lot with that part. But this one is more general and lets you describe, saying fixed, missing comma, the selectors guide. And then we could reference the number. Let's see which number that was. 1690. 1690. And that's the easy and straightforward way to create a pull request if you're editing directly from the website.
Yeah.
We would propose this change, and it would create the pull request, create the request here, and then we just create it. So that's the easy, straightforward way of creating one directly from the site itself.
That was even less than half the hour. That was just like 10 minutes.
Right. And the part about it, I'll give it a couple of minutes here, but the good part of, or one thing that we've added in addition to that is you can actually preview what the page will look like after the change, after the CI finishes, but that'll take, a couple of minutes to do so. And then to go through, so that's just to cap that off, that's the way of editing content directly from the website itself and submitting a PR through that way. And
Very cool.
and as you mentioned before, this is using the same infrastructure as like the Angular docs. So that's where that feature came from, being able to edit that page directly.
Yeah.
And so if we let's say we want to make that change from the command line side of things, then I already have the repo cloned here. The process for, we clone the repo, we go into let's see if I'll go back here. Go into the projects. We start in the platform repo from our fork. Go into projects and NgRx.io, which is where the docs app is. And first, I'm not going to run the commands just because it takes a minute to do, but you run yarn setup, and that sets up the docs app.
Yeah.
It sets up the docs app and generates the content from the markdown files. Then after you run yarn setup, you run the command we all love, serve and sync, not sync and serve.
Yeah, sure, obvious.
And then that goes through, I already have it running here, but it goes through and starts up the application. It generates the docs and it starts up the docs app. So that is how we got to running on localhost, which will bring up the same app you see on the website. So then,
By the way, it's very beautiful.
Oh, thank you. You can thank Mike Ryan for the design. He designed the color scheme and see this fancy animations here. He did that, so I can't take credit for that. So
thanks, Mike.
Thanks, Mike. So if we go back to, let's say I haven't, this hadn't been merged yet, so I'll go back to that same simple example that needed to be changed. So if we go into projects, NgRx.io, and all of our guides are located in the content directory. And the things we have here are the guides, and this matches the URLs on the page. So under store, we have the main guide / store page. And you can see that kind of maps to the guides that we have in here. So the one that we just did, editing directly on the page, was selectors. So we can go through this page and see, and I'll scroll down here to the bottom, that same area, because this hasn't been fixed here yet. And we see that same change. And I add that comma, easy fix. And the thing that we have here, like you showed before, is using the code examples, and that's what wraps the code snippets that we have in the repo. And we also use the like you said, like you showed before, just the triple backticks in other places to show code snippets. But I think here's one here. It's just showing like a JSON object. But yeah, it's just, if you're familiar with Markdown, then it should be pretty easy to edit. So I made that change. I'll save that file, and then I won't use any shortcuts here. I'll kind of type it out. So to get status, we follow the same process, git add, then git commit. And our convention is the same as yours. We generally keep them just to docs for anything that we want to update for documentation. Give it a message, fixed, missing comma, and selectors guide. And add that. So then we have our commit, and then we will push that up, of course. I'll just use personal. Well, I guess I'm probably on master 2. So I'll get checkout, branch. And I will push that to my origin or whatever you name your remote branch.
Personal is a very cool name. I have to give you that.
So that way, I did personal just because it helped me to not be confused as to which one I was pushing to. So
it was super obvious, but never thought about it, changing it in another way than Origin.
cool. So if we go back to the GitHub repo, the workflow is the same. I'm going to open 2 pull requests for the same thing just because.
Or you have to close one afterwards. The community member will be super sad about it.
But I'm closing my own. I guess I'm closing my own, so it's okay. So create a pull request for that, and one of us will review it. I'll go ahead and get some shout outs to Tim, who's on the team also. I already shouted out Mike. Of course, I didn't mention Rob in the beginning. So those are the NgRx core team people. And one of us will review it, hopefully pretty quickly. And if we can go back to this one, it should be finished now. As I mentioned before, you get a preview with each commit that you push on a particular PR. Of course, it didn't work yet because it's not. We're pushing those to GitHub, and it usually takes a minute. But I'll open up a different one since that one's not ready yet, just so we can see it working. Because I know this one works because I just looked at it.
I'm kind of envy that you have that feature already implemented.
Yeah, we can look at porting that over to the RxJS doc. So
that would be cool.
But yeah, this one shows the commit and the commit message, and it does this on Angular docs too. So I ported the idea over to our docs. That way people can see what their changes are. But you click on a preview, and it shows you the full site with the changes. For this one, I believe this was one of those good first issue ones that I mentioned, where I kind of laid out the steps of what the change needed to be made. So this one is adding Spartacus to the resources page under example apps. So we can look and see what the preview is, and I'll go to the production app just so we can see that it's not there yet. Resources, and we have example projects, and Pizza Sync is the last one here. And if we go to the preview and resources, you can see it, Spartacus is there. So that, like I said, it kind of gives us a good turnaround to see what the change would look like without us having to pull down the fork and see it that way. So then once that gets merged in, it goes. We don't auto deploy the production site. We usually deploy that during like releases, like you said, like you mentioned earlier. But we do have one that would section that would, or a version that would contain that change. So we have stable, and we have next, and next is what's built on master. Each time master goes green, or each build of master once a merge is done. So that way we get, if you want the latest and greatest, you can always go to next.ngrx.io and find them that way. So those are the two ways you can contribute to NgRx. Like I mentioned, you can edit directly from the page if you're not that familiar with Git, or if you want to, or if even if you don't use the command line, we use a tool.
Absolutely.
Yeah, tool for managing your Git workflow. The process is shoot. We want the process to seem straightforward. So that way people will be more likely to contribute because, like we said, we want the docs to be better than what they are, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So we try to, at least from my perspective, we try to make that process as easy as we can. Try to like decrease those points of friction that maybe cause people to not to contribute or think that contributing is hard. Um, because I mean, at the end of the day, we're asking people to help us out. So, um,
Absolutely.
but
Super
yeah,
true.
so that's, I mean, contributing to NGRX. I mean, it runs, like I said, if I tweeted this out a few days ago, but um, let's see, I'll stop sharing my screen. Yeah, but I tweeted this out a few days ago, but and I think this probably what prompted this meeting was that,
Yeah.
RxJS, we talked about it. RxJS uses this infrastructure, NGRX uses infrastructure, and it's the same way as the Angular docs. And of course, I'm going to plug the Angular docs because that's what I do. But uh, but you can see the structure is the same across those different sites. So
Yeah.
if you contributed to RxJS docs or NGRX, then you can do the same thing with Angular if you've never contributed there also, because we're always looking for more contributors and more people to pitch in, especially if people are filing issues or things that they think could help. So
I also very like to see first timers helping out. I think it's very cool to see someone digging into the docs and helping out there, especially for the first time,
yeah.
to leave their comfort zone and try that. And it's very cool. I think we had recently in the RxJS docs like 2 or 3 first timers, and I was like, ah,
You went out and gave him a virtual hug.
yeah, yeah, virtual hack through the internet.
But yeah, I agree. Of course, we've all been there. I suppose being first time contributors. So um, yeah, I think my
Absolutely.
first pull request I ever did was rejected, but that's okay. I'm still I still managed to push through. So um, hopefully we'll, like I said, putting this together.
What was
It
it?
was
What was
for
it?
it was a change to a I won't put them out there, but it was a change to a PHP library. Um, and I wanted,
Okay.
of course, I was trying to make it easier for me, but there's like, nope, close, and I was like, ah. But I made it past
Okay.
that and tried it again. So, um, with this, yeah, I say push through.
Yeah.
But yeah, um,
Cool. Cool.
but yeah, I think we've covered walking through RxJS and walking through covering contributing to NGRX. So hopefully, if people have any questions, of course, they
Yeah.
can hit us up on Twitter. I'm Brandon T. Roberts on Twitter. I guess we should have said that up front. If you want to tell them your handle.
Yeah. Yeah. It's Nicholas with a K underscore Wortmann, like WORTMANN. It's a very German name, I know. Yeah.
Okay, cool. I know you said there were some. I guess before we wrap up, you said there was some new stuff coming out that you wanted to talk about. So you want to
Yeah.
go
Yeah.
through that?
Good that you remind me. I already forgot about those. So we've planned some very exciting features for the docs in the future. So the main one and the most exhausting one will be translation. So we want to have internationalization docs for more languages than English.
Mhm.
I think when I start, I will first start with Germany and I'll try to expand that translation because I'm more or less able to speak German and
Mm-hmm.
English. So it would be very helpful if someone digs into that.
Yeah.
And also, in general, it's kind of exhausting task because we have to change all the infrastructure to be capable of internationalization. So this might be a more complex task than I
Mm-hmm.
expected before.
But what you're saying is you
Besides
need
that,
more contributors. There you
true. That's
go.
why
Yeah.
we are here, right? The other one, which I would really like to see, is like a comparison section where we have like a comparison between similar operators. For example, what's the difference between switch map, merge map, concat map, exhaust map,
Mm-hmm.
those kind of stuff. And there are more than those similarities in RxJS. So there we have many operators which are doing very similar stuff, and to have one site where we compare those operators. This is more about content generation. It's not like a difficult. It's not like uh, changing a lot of technical stuff in the docs. It's
Mm-hmm.
really like generate the content, like creating a blog post or something like that. I knew there are already amazing blog posts out there about, especially about switch map.
Mm-hmm.
But I would really like to have that as a section in general for, in best case, for all the operators. But you have to start somewhere.
Yeah.
That's one thing we would like to have. Those are the major parts as far as I know at the moment. For sure, we have some minor things like improving. Oh, one very cool thing we really need help with that is like a framework so especially for Angular, for all the frameworks, and also complete framework
Mm-hmm.
agnostic. So just with plain JavaScript. Um, so if you don't know how to do HTTP polling in Angular, you can go to
Mm-hmm.
RxJS cookbook and you find a recipe. It also helps with your head thinking about RxJS and streams and observables. What the heck is a code one? No one knows.
Yeah. So more practical examples
Exactly.
for whatever your choice is.
Yeah,
Cool.
those are the three major parts. But I'm super open for every idea. So if recently one suggested to change the filter. So for now we just copied from Angular. So we have filters for class, enum, and those kind of stuff. It doesn't make any sense for RxJS. You would
Mm-hmm.
filter for creation operators for I don't know. And I was like, super obvious. Never thought about that.
Yeah.
So those kind of things are very valuable because I'm mostly looking like, okay, we need to fix that, and I'm not so much thinking about new ideas. So I'm super open for those kind of things.
Cool.
Any plans for NgRx? Give us some news. Come on, I want to know what's going on in NgRx 8.
What's coming in NgRx? We have new things is that have like integrated like runtime checks because NGRX is all about immutability and not mutating state. So we're introducing some checks to make sure that in development mode that you're not mutating state or that your state is like fully serializable
Cool.
and that your actions are serializable. So that it's more developer experience type things that,
Yeah.
like I said, that's one thing. And one thing that we've introduced already in 7.4, but it'll be featured more in 8 is action creators. Uh,
Mm,
just
yeah.
because it makes creating, actions are one of the main parts of NGRX. So we've made creating actions that you dispatch a lot easier to do. So there's that, and there's some other. We've talked about this before, but bringing in another open source project, NgRx Data. We're in the process of bringing that into the rest of the platform. So that'll be in there, and then of course we'll have docs for that, and some of the other things are fit and finish, cleanup
Yeah.
things that want to do. We're looking at new function for creating effects. So if you prefer using a function versus a decorator. So it gives you some more um, type type checking, gives you some better type checking as far as creating effects. So there's that. But yeah, there's a few other things too. But I think those are the main things that we have lined up for version 8. And like I said, we're working on that now. And so um, we'll have to write some more docs for that. So yeah, I'll definitely be opening some more issues for docs and ones that we're accepting PRs on. So
Sounds
like I
good.
said, like I mentioned before, the accepting PRs and good first issues are the ones that we mainly target for contributions outside the ones that we have on our own backlog of things.
Yeah. Backlog. That sounds professional.
Hey, it is a project that may not be
Yeah, yeah, very true.
they're not all on GitHub, but yeah, they're in the back of our mind somewhere. So yeah,
Yeah. I really enjoyed that session. It was a lot of fun
cool.
chatting with you about open source.
Yeah, we'll have to see if we can do this again sometime.
Would be cool.
If
Would like to
if
do
if
that.
the if, once guess we'll look at the feedback that we get and see if we can put something else together.
Yeah,
You know, help
sounds
some
good.
more people.
Yeah. So hopefully we will meet personally at the next conference somewhere.
Yeah.
Fingers crossed.
Yep.
Cool, cool.
So we'll say to everyone joining in, thanks for watching, and we hope that you learned something. And if, like I said, you can reach us on Twitter, or of course, you can always file an issue on either the RxJS repo or NgRx, and then we'll help you out from there.
Yeah.
So we'll see you guys later.
See you. Bye.
Bye.